This is your WWE Smackdown review for Friday, September 23rd, 2022. I am the Solomonster. I gotta tell you, this is the most fun that I have had watching SmackDown in a very long time. I thought tonight's show was very good. There were parts of it that I had an issue with, but on the whole, I had a lot of fun watching this show tonight. Everybody was waiting for the next clue in the whole White Rabbit saga. Everyone's been following all the clues, all the QR codes, right? We had some on Raw Monday night. We had a video a few days ago that had the date of 9/23, and it was going back and forth between the date of 9/23 and the time 9/23, I presume, p.m. So a lot of people thought that tonight during SmackDown at 9:23 p.m., we would get the next clue. And if you were watching the television show, you didn't see anything at 9:23 p.m. They did drop a new clue online. It's possible that the 9:23 time was referring to Raw Monday night. They had a guy on screen in the crowd at 9:23 p.m. holding up a sign with a QR code on it. So I know people are disappointed they didn't get anything at 9:23. I think they went to commercial. So they may have been playing the White Rabbit song during the commercial break in the building. I know they played it at least once for the live crowd tonight. But we did get a new clue. And not only did we get a new clue, but we got our strongest hint yet that indeed Bray Wyatt is coming back to WWE. And all this White Rabbit stuff is revolving around Bray Wyatt. And I will explain to you exactly why that is. Because there, I think, are elements to this that some people may not pick up on. So we're going to talk about that. Roman Reigns was back on the show. He missed the show last week. He had the press conference in Vegas last weekend with Logan Paul to announce their match at Crown Jewel. But the Bloodline was in full force tonight with what I thought probably was the best Bloodline segment that we have had to date with Sami Zayn. I loved the opening to the show. I love this storyline. It is the best thing going in wrestling today, and easily the best thing going in this entire company. So we'll talk about that. We had a tag team championship main event match tonight with the Usos defending their titles against the Brawling Brutes. And we had the announcement that in 2 weeks, on the season premiere of SmackDown, the day after my birthday, in fact, quite a nice belated birthday gift to me, we are getting Sheamus and Gunther Part 2. Sheamus and Walter for the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown in 2 weeks. They're calling it the War in Worcester. I cannot wait. Part 2 of what I'm sure will be a longer series of matches. I'm still holding out hope that Sheamus will get his win at WrestleMania, because I don't see it happening necessarily in 2 weeks. But I am not going to argue against running the match back again in 2 weeks. I'm very much looking forward to that. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, because tonight could be the night. We are only a few subscribers away from 71,000. I think we're less than 10 subscribers away from 71,000. So if you subscribe to the channel tonight, if you are not already a subscriber, you may be number 71,000. So hit that subscribe button. Also hit that thumbs up button. The goal tonight for Be the Booker is 500 likes. At least 500. If I don't see 500, we're not going to do Be the Booker later. That's the goal. Super chats are open, so send them on in. If you have thoughts on this whole White Rabbit stuff, I'd love to hear it. I've got my theories. You've got yours. So get them on in, and we'll hang out a little bit later on to read through your super chats. So let's get into this SmackDown show tonight. Now, the reason I'm not covering Rampage is not because I am not interested in Rampage. Actually, tonight's Rampage is a very good show. I already saw it. I was in the building. I was at Arthur Ashe Stadium on Wednesday night. I saw Rampage. I saw Dynamite. Last night on the stream, we went over 3 hours, one of the longest streams that I've done in a very long time. We hung out for 3 hours talking Dynamite, Rampage, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you missed it, go back and check it out, or at least skim through parts of it. But we are going to keep it to SmackDown tonight. Of course, you could ask anything you want in the Super Chats, but that's why we're only doing the SmackDown review tonight, because I've already seen Rampage. I don't need to watch it twice. I've already seen it once. So let's get into this SmackDown show here. The show opened with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline coming on out with Sami Zayn to open the show. They just keep growing. This group has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger as the months have worn on. They're not quite at NWO levels yet, where they're bringing in, Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss and, the Maximum Male Mid-Carders and all these jabrones. But they have grown. The Bloodline has expanded over the months. And Solo Sikoa was out there as well without his NXT North American Championship, which Shawn Michaels took away from him on TV on Tuesday. Very stupid. Sami Zayn was still sporting the OG Bloodline shirt, even though everybody else was wearing new shirts. He didn't have one. That would change by the time this segment was over. I thought this was the segment of the year. I love the opening to this show so much. I would go ahead and say this was the segment of the year, at least in WWE. I love this segment. So they were standing around in the ring, and they were waiting a while, soaking up the reaction from the crowd. Roman told Salt Lake City to acknowledge him. Paul Heyman took the microphone, and he didn't know what to call the crowd. He goes, "What do you call people in Utah? Do you call them Utones? Do you call them Utans? What do you call the people?" I don't even know what you call the people in Utah. Maybe we have some Utah people in the chat. Maybe you could fill me in. So I don't know what you call the folks over there in Salt Lake City. Paul Heyman settled on calling them Salt Lake Cityots, which they were not very happy with. Heyman put over Roman as the longest reigning undisputed champion. He said not to feel too bad about Drew McIntyre for losing on his home turf, because WWE was Roman Reigns' turf no matter where they were. And now McIntyre had another bridge to cross. That was his new challenge to worry about. That was his little play on words there. So then he brought up Solo Sikoa, and he explained that it was the elders who called upon Solo Sikoa to come to the main roster And to join with the bloodline, Sikoa got involved because Brock Lesnar took him out. Brock Lesnar took out the wise man at SummerSlam. And the Usos already have enough on their plate as it is as the tag team champions. So the elders, I just picture Afa and Sika now up on some mountain somewhere. The elders called upon Solo Sikoa. He referred to Solo as the new enforcer on the island of relevancy. And so Solo Sikoa, I guess he's the Arn Anderson of the bloodline. Jimmy and Jay said that they would retain their tag team titles tonight. They did their shtick, they the twos, we the ones. And before Jay could finish their catchphrase, Roman put his hand out for the microphone. Jay handed the mic over to Roman Reigns, and Roman called Solo Sikoa over. And he told Sikoa that the elders may have chosen him, but you answer to me now. And he told Sikoa to acknowledge him, and Solo said, I acknowledge you, my tribal chief. So they all hugged, and Zayn was happy. Sammy's just happy to be there in all of these segments. So they played the Bloodlines music, and it looked like that was going to be the end of the segment, and they turned to go walk away, and Sami Zayn took the microphone, and he told them to stop the music. He said that he had something to say. Roman was puzzled by this. He turned around. And he said that he wanted to publicly acknowledge Roman to show his gratitude to the bloodline for treating him like family, even though he may not be blood. He does very much appreciate the fact that they consider him an honorary part of their family. So Roman, he didn't quite know what to make of this. He was kind of smiling, and he took the mic, and he told Sami, I like you. But I'm wondering, why are you even speaking right now? What are you doing? Why are you talking? Why are you wearing our shirt? And he told Sami to take the shirt off. Jey Uso was great here. So the entire time throughout this entire segment, Jey, again, he's burning a hole through Sami Zayn. And as soon as Roman Reigns says to Sami to take the shirt off, you can hear Jey in the background yelling, take it off, right? He's just yelling it over and over again. It's like a dog on a chain, right? If somebody let him loose, he would have attacked Sami right there in the ring. So he's telling him to take the shirt off, and Zayn wouldn't do it, not because he was refusing, but he was sort of caught off guard by all this. He didn't want it. He thought at first Roman was joking. And then Roman made it very clear that he wasn't being humorous. He wanted him to take the shirt off. So finally, Jey Uso goes over and he just rips the shirt right off Sami's body. And everybody boos because everybody loves Sami Zayn. It's like MJF going after Tony Schiavone the other night on Dynamite, right? Even though MJF, and I could tell you being in the building live in Queens, when he came out, he got one of the biggest reactions of the entire night. Everybody loved to see MJF until he pushed Tony Schiavone down. And when he pushed Tony down, he got, the boos were reverberating throughout the entire stadium. Easy way to get heat. People love Sami Zayn. So when Jey ripped the shirt off, they booed. And I think they booed also because they feared, we know what's coming here. And they didn't want to see it. They were hoping it wouldn't happen. They didn't want to see it. I didn't want to see it. So Reigns said that Sami would never again wear that shirt. They zoomed in on Sami. Sami looked like he had this look on his face like he just got the news that his dog got hit by a car, or his car got shit on by a bunch of geese. So Roman says, you're never going to wear that shirt again because I got you a new one. And he throws a new shirt over to Sami. And Sami unravels it, and it says on there, SZ, it's got his initials, and it says Honorary Us. And he holds it up for everybody to see, and it gets a big pop from the crowd. And I think it was also a feeling of relief because people were worried that they were going to, attack Sami. They were going to turn on him. This was going to be the end. And then they realized this feeling of relief washed over them when they realized that Roman was being nice to him. And in fact, he was still going to be part of the bloodline. So Sami's all pumped up. Sami's all excited. He's all pumped up. He can't believe it. The crowd's chanting his name. He went over and hugged Roman, who, of course, at first was a little put off by all this. But he hugged him back. And when he hugged him back again, everybody cheered. People loved to see it. And Sami thanked them, and he was high-fiving everybody, all except Jey Uso. All while this was going on, Jey Uso was leaning up against the ropes, and they kept like giving these close-ups of his facial expressions, and he couldn't believe, he was disgusted by this. He couldn't believe that Roman gave him a t-shirt and was keeping him as part of their family. So you talk about going from a feeling of sadness to happiness in the span of 10 seconds. That's what this crowd was and Sami was going through here. When we got that little, it was almost like a swerve is what it was. They swerved you. They wanted you to think this was going to be the end of Sami Zayn in the bloodline. And then Roman, hey, I got a shirt for you. So I loved it. I thought that was great. I was about to come on here live tonight and go off on these people if they were going to end this storyline here tonight. You can't end this storyline yet. You got War Games coming up in November. You can't end this now. That would be the dumbest decision that Triple H could possibly make. So I was, believe me, I was going to come on here and read them the riot act if they were dumb enough to end this storyline tonight. But I'll tell you one thing, that new Sami Zayn shirt, they're about to sell 1 million of those things. You put that up on WWE Shop, they'll sell 1 million of those things. So from Sami's antics when they first came out, he's dancing around like he does every week. From Sami's antics to the concerned look on Paul Heyman's face in the background when Sami told him to cut the music and he didn't know what was going to happen. Because Heyman always has that look on his face anyway, like he's walking on eggshells when he's around Roman. So from that to just Jey Uso's visceral hatred for this man and everything that he does. Pretty much anything Sami Zayn does. Every single person in this angle, really every week, but especially in this segment here tonight, they played their role to just perfection. Absolute perfection. The storytelling here is the best that I have seen out of WWE in years. Easily the best storytelling, the best storyline that WWE has done in years. And it all comes back to Sami Zayn, because the bloodline's been around for a while, but the Sami stuff really only kicked up in the last few months. And everything he does, it just knock it out of the park. Roman is perfect in his role. To look at Roman Reigns now as compared to, 3-4 years ago, you talk about night and day. You talk about a guy now who's comfortable in his skin, who was miscast for all those years. And now in this role, he's finally found himself. Imagine if they would have, turned him heel and turned him loose a few years ago. But everybody was just, I thought, perfect in this segment. And Jey Uso in particular. Jey Uso was fantastic. You could feel his disdain for this man. Which actually adds some humor to it, because Jimmy gets a kick out of Sami. Jimmy looks like he likes him. Jey is the one who can't fucking stand him. So that kind of makes it funny also. It's going to be a sad day, though, I'll tell you, when the bloodline does beat the absolute shit out of this guy. It's going to take one mistake. That's all it's going to take. One mistake. He's going to fuck up in a major way one time. And I'm thinking it could be in the War Games match, because you have these War Games matches they announced this week for Survivor Series, and we'll talk more about that this Sunday on the podcast. But how do you not have the bloodline on one side? And if Sami Zayn is in that match next to Roman, next to Solo, next to the Usos, and he fucks up in some way, or he surrenders and loses the match for the bloodline, that could be the moment. Whether they turn on him on the spot or they do it on SmackDown on TV that Friday, whatever it is, that might be the turning point that finally leads to Sami Zayn being excommunicated from this group. They can use War Games as a way to get there. But just everything that they have done so far, I can't say enough good things about this. It is the most fun I have watching these segments on these shows every week. So we have Liv Morgan, the SmackDown Women's Champion, with her title coming out in preparation for her match with Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules, taking on Lacey Evans, who now has camo face paint on her forehead for some reason. It's only smeared in one part of her head. I don't know. It looks like she was walking down the street on a military base and, bumped into a pole, and some of it rubbed off on her head. The announcers spent most of the match talking about Liv Morgan being the underdog going into her title match with Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules, and how Liv is going to have to show a different side. If she is going to be in an Extreme Rules match against Ronda Rousey, she's going to have to show more aggression. She's going to have to show a different side of her that we have never seen before. So the announcers are going on about this. And meanwhile, Lacey Evans is taking like 97% of this match. She took the vast majority of this match, which went longer than it had to. She goes outside. She pulls out a kendo stick. And even though that this is not a no DQ match, right? So she's going to show Liv Morgan how to be extreme. Yeah, and she's going to get herself disqualified. So not very bright. Maybe she did bump her head into a pole. Maybe I was onto something. She gets into the ring. She takes a swing. And Liv ducks the shot. And she delivers an awful-looking code breaker. And Lacey kind of stumbles backwards into the ropes. And Liv hits the ropes and hits the Oblivion. And I have to say, this is like the third or fourth time in a row now I've seen Liv hit that Oblivion finish. It looks awful. She needs to find a new finishing move. It just does not look good. It does not look impactful at all. So I thought the finish to this absolutely sucked. But the post-match was much better. So again, they're telling a story, right, about Liv lacking the aggression that she needs. After the match, Morgan has the kendo stick in her hand. And it looks like she's hesitating, right? She can't bring herself to start assaulting this woman with the kendo stick. Well, then she snaps. And she just starts whacking away. She is whacking away at Lacey Evans with this kendo stick. She's wailing away on this woman. Outside the ring, she gives Evans a Russian leg sweep into the LED barricade. Then she pulls out a table from underneath the ring. And she sets Lacey Evans on top of the table. Liv gets back in the ring. And she climbs up to the top rope. Lacey Evans is on the floor, laid out across this table. Liv is taking her time up there. She's milking it, right? The crowd's on their feet. They're ready to see this big spot. And she comes diving off the top of the ring post with a diving flying senton. Looked like she damn near overshot the table. But she stuck the landing. It was okay. It worked out. But it looked, from the way they were shooting it, it looked like she damn near overshot the table. But they actually got a great camera shot. The cameraman knelt down. He was right there. And it was one static shot. We didn't have 50 million fucking camera cuts here. And you just got this shot in real time of Liv Morgan flying off the top rope. Even the cameraman absorbed some of the impact on the way down. She kind of struck him on the way down. But he stuck with it. So it was a great camera shot, I thought. And a huge spot. And it got a huge reaction from the crowd. The match wasn't any good. Frankly, I could have done without the match. If you just would have done some kind of angle to get us to the post-match, that would have been fine. The match wasn't really worth much, but I thought the post-match was very effective in, look, this is the match they've made. I don't buy Liv Morgan in this role, but this is the match they've made for Extreme Rules. Ronda should go in there and absolutely fucking kill this woman. So they had to try to do something to bring out the more aggressive side of Liv Morgan. They did the best they could. They did the big high spot with her. I mean, that's really all you can ask for. Right now, the only Extreme Rules match we have on the pay-per-view with that stipulation is Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. They better come up with some other Extreme Rules match on this show. Now, I know we have the Fight Pit, which I'm very excited about. Something else I'll talk more about on Sunday. I have a lot to say about that. But, yeah, if this ends up being the only Extreme Rules match on this pay-per-view, I think that's very weak. Backstage, we had Hit Row. We had Top Dollar, we had Ashanti, and we had B-Fab. And they were toasting with some champagne, toasting to, I guess, money. And they were talking about who's going to win the main event tonight. Tag team titles on the line, the Usos and the Brawling Brutes. All of a sudden, the Street Profits interrupted and thanked them for the invite to their party. Shinsuke Nakamura popped up as well. They all filled up their champagne glasses. As this was going on a monitor in the background, was a flashing QR code. This is why you got to pay attention to these shows. Why I like this viral marketing stuff, which is really what it is. It's like, it's like an ARG. You've got to pay attention. It forces you to pay attention a little more closely to the shows, because you never know what clue might pop up. It might be a QR code. It might be a puppet. It might be, you never know what it's going to be. So I noticed that, right away, since it was flashing in the background, the QR code. And it was a different QR code than the one from Monday. This took you to a different clue. It took you to a different 30-second video. And I don't have the video to play for you, but I will show you one of the images that you got at the end of the video here, which is the image that you see here on your screen. There he is. There's the White Rabbit. And there it says patricide, and it gives you some, I guess, latitude and longitude coordinates here on the very bottom. Now, people who are more enterprising than I am have looked up these coordinates, and the claim is that these coordinates are for Rogers Place, which is the name of the arena in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which is just so happens to be where Monday Night Raw is emanating from live this Monday night. Now, patricide is the killing of one's father. For those who, I think everybody knows what patricide is, but if you don't, it's when you kill your father. That is the act of patricide. So what the hell does patricide have to do with anything? Well, this ties in with what I said earlier. This is our biggest clue yet that this is, in fact, teasing the Bray Wyatt return. There is an old Bray Wyatt promo, and you could probably, I'm sure you could find it on YouTube. There is an old Bray Wyatt promo from FCW. So we're going back to the very beginning, the very origins of the Bray Wyatt character. He was still tweaking it. He had more of an accent, like a Southern accent that he was putting on. And yeah, he had the Hawaiian shirt and the hat. He had Eli Cottonwood with him. Everybody remember Eli Cottonwood? If you've been listening to the Sound Off for years and years, I'm sure you remember my NXT names rant many years ago when they gave people their new names. We had Eli Cottonwood and we had Percy Watson and we had a whole bunch of other terrible names. Well, they had Eli Cottonwood in the promo. He didn't say anything, but he was standing behind Bray. I guess in the early days of Bray Wyatt, they had him as his bodyguard, I guess. Either that or Eli was the earliest member of the Wyatt family. But I bring this up because in that promo, Bray told a story about his father. I'm not talking about Mike Rotunda either. Told a story about his father and how his father used to be a shrimp boat captain. And his father was a really mean guy, and what a mean old man he was. And then one day, and as he's saying this, he pulls out a lighter, right? He's holding a lighter up as he's talking about this. And he says, one day, my daddy's boat ended up on fire, and it sank with him in it. And then I had to go away for a while. So in this promo, he is admitting that he killed his father. Now, Bray Wyatt is a very creative guy. You might say, well, that promo probably was from 10 years ago. That was around 2012 when that promo would have, been recorded. But Bray Wyatt is someone who I could absolutely see tapping into those early promos, drawing from those early promos and dropping little clues and little hints and little Easter eggs. So that to me is the surest clue yet that Bray Wyatt, this is from the mind of Bray Wyatt. And absolutely this is the teasing the return of Bray Wyatt because he's flat out admitting that he killed his father in that video. Hence patricide. It's the only way that patricide being mentioned here even makes sense. It goes back to that early FCW Bray Wyatt promo. But you go find it. You can watch the promo. I'm sure it's floating around on YouTube somewhere. That was our clue for the night. That was all we got. I wasn't expecting there to be any kind of big reveal or debut or return on the show. Frankly, I'm not expecting it on Raw Monday in Edmonton either. I wouldn't have that on just a regular episode of Raw or SmackDown. I would save it maybe for Extreme Rules. Or Raw the night after or something like that. I don't expect there to be any kind of big reveal on TV, not just this week, but next week either. So anyway, that was your White Rabbit update for the night. The Shrimp Boat Captain made me think of Forrest Gump when he told that story. Right? Bubba Gump Shrimp Company. That promo was very Waylon Mercy-esque. But really, if you think of the whole Bray Wyatt character when he first debuted and formed the Wyatt family, I mean, you can clearly see how he drew inspiration from Danny Spivey in that Waylon Mercy character. But that early FCW promo is very, very Waylon Mercy-esque. So elsewhere in the back, Sami Zayn was yelling at a catering employee, telling him to go get him a vegan meal. Now that he's officially an honorary member of the Bloodline, I should at least be able to get my vegan meal. Ricochet and Madcap Moss walked up to him, and they were talking about how Sami has become even more insufferable since he has found his head buried deep up the ass of Roman Reigns. They told him that he might think he's a member of the Bloodline, but really he is just a certified... And before they could finish their thought, here comes Solo Sikoa out of nowhere, and he body checks these two guys into the metal grate. It was like a garage door that was right there. And he just starts unloading on these guys with right hands. He's firing away. Sami has to pull him off. He has to restrain this man. And Sami looks down and he says, you know, I was about to do that myself. He goes, good job. And the two of them walked off. Again, I love how Solo and Jimmy really seem to like Sami. It's really just Jay. Jay is really the one who he can't stand this fucking guy's guts. So they aired a hype video narrated by Paul Heyman, hyping the Usos' success as the Undisputed Tag Team Champions. They have been champions now as of today for 432 days. They showed them winning the titles last year from Ray and Dominic, which feels like a lifetime ago. They showed them taking out RK Bro to become the Undisputed Tag Team Champions earlier this year. They have now had a longer reign, and they showed each team on screen. They've now outlasted the Hart Foundation, the Road Warriors, and the Dudley Boys as far as length of their reign as tag team champions. There are now only 2 teams remaining. That's it. 2 teams left for them to surpass in terms of the number of days in a single reign as the tag team champions. One of those teams is Demolition. And the number 1 team, the longest reigning tag team champions in WWE history, are the New Day. And Heyman in the voiceover said that the Usos are about to surpass them soon. They will take their place in tag team immortality. So we got a Demolition mention and some footage of Demolition here on the show. If Triple H finally inducts Demolition into the Hall of Fame next year, which he absolutely should, before they fucking die, please. If Triple H puts Demolition in the Hall of Fame next year, he gets my vote for Booker of the Year. He'll get my vote before 2023 even begins. If we find out that he's going to put Demolition in the Hall of Fame, he's got my vote next year for Booker of the Year. Make it happen. Should have happened a long time ago. Speaking of the New Day, they were up next against the Maximum Male Mid-Carders, who did not even get an entrance, which tells you everything you need to know about their standing in this company. I mean, I don't think any of us can be shocked. Nobody should be shocked that it took this long, not very long at all, for them to be coming out without an entrance on TV. That's exactly where this gimmick is headed. So Max and Maxine Dupree were at ringside for the match. Late in the match, Maxine, who was taking photos, she had a camera around her neck that she borrowed from one of the ringside photographers. She was having the models at one point during the match pose. They stopped and posed over an injured Xavier Woods while she was snapping photographs. While that was going on, Kofi Kingston ran back into the ring and he shoved Massey out to the floor. Meanwhile, Xavier Woods used his backwoods finish to roll up Mansois. Right? Is that how you do it? Mansois? Rolled up Mansois for the win. After the match, Max Dupree was irate. Outside the ring, he was screaming at the male models. What are you doing? You're playing games. You're posing. You should be, trying to win the match. And he took off his dress coat. He started very violently swinging it and slamming it against the ring apron. And then he stormed off by himself to the back. And Maxine and the models, they had these terrified looks on their faces. So they're doing the slow burn. We're going to get LA Knight back very soon. but they're going to do the slow burn. But LA Knight is on his way back very soon. Backstage, Hit Row was still having their little party. The party had now expanded. Do you want to hear the huge names that attended this party here tonight? Hit Row, their big backstage bash. We had Drew Gulak, Sonya Deville, Natty, and Xia Li. And Angel and Humberto, they showed up as well to join the party. Man, where can I join this party? Where's my invite? How come I wasn't invited? Where's Top Dollar? Where's my invite? Yes, by the way, I am aware that Demolition was part of the concussion lawsuit. There were a lot of wrestlers that were part of the concussion lawsuit. It doesn't matter. If Demolition got an invitation to be part of a WWE Hall of Fame ceremony, I'm sure they would take it. It's WWE being petty. I'm well aware of the lawsuit. I love how people have to mention this as if I don't know this stuff. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I cover this for a living. I talked about that story at length when the lawsuit was still being talked about. Nobody talks about it now. I don't even think the lawsuit is even a thing anymore. I covered all this years ago. So yes, I'm well aware of it. It does not mean that Demolition cannot be extended an invitation to be part of a WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. WWE makes up with people who bash them and sue them and say all kinds of horrible shit about them all the time. All Vince McMahon was doing was being petty and trying to run out the clock until one or both of them died, and then eventually they would get one of those posthumous legacy inductions where they just kind of throw your name in there. Oh, by the way, Demolition's in the Hall of Fame now, right? Which is a crock of shit. If you're gonna have a Hall of Fame and you're gonna have, people come and be part of a big ceremony and give a big speech, I see no reason why Demolition shouldn't be part of that. I'm still very, it bothers me that you had somebody like Vader, for example, who was invited to induct somebody else into the Hall of Fame, but never actually had the chance to, get up in front of his peers and give a speech for himself. He gave a speech for somebody else, all right, Stan Hansen, but he never had the chance to give one for himself. Randy Savage. I mean, we can go on and on about this. So, yes, I am well aware. Oh, look who it is, everybody. It's Perk Angle. Javier Martinez with the $4.99 super chat, courtesy of our good buddy Perk Angle here on the stream tonight. So anyway, back to this Hit Row party. Angel and Humberto show up. They were trying to hit on BFAB, and they got kicked out of the party. We'll come back to this later. They showed ring technicians reinforcing the ring for our next match between Otis and Braun Strowman. And we even got a tail of the tape here. Michael Cole slipped in a heavy machinery reference. He said, we've got some heavy machinery in the ring. And Corey Graves said, I see what you did there, Cole. Poor Tucker. Poor Tucker. What's Tucker up to these days? What happened to Tucker? Tucker is wishing that Triple H had taken over the book years ago when Heavy Machinery first got called up to the main roster. He might still have a job had Triple H been in charge instead of Vince McMahon. So we had Strowman and Otis. Strowman landed an early drop kick that sent Otis out to the floor. Braun tried to do his little choo-choo train thing around the ring, but Chad Gable dropped down in front of Braun, who did a little leap over him to kind of stall his momentum. That kind of stopped Braun in his tracks. He turned around to look at Gable. Otis then attacked Strowman, tossed him into the barricade in the ring post. Back inside, Otis splashed Strowman in the corner, and then he hit the ropes to charge at Braun, but he got caught with a spine buster. And then we got the whole Strowman Express spot outside, and he body checked Otis over the announce desk. Braun sent Otis back inside, tried to pick Otis up for a body slam, but he couldn't do it. And I don't know if that was a planned spot or if he just couldn't get him up. He kind of dropped him and they had to cover for it by quickly going to, Otis, getting more heat on him. I don't know. Because Braun was talking to Otis. He was saying something. He didn't sound very happy. So anyway, he couldn't pick him up. Otis hit a World's Strongest Slam. He went up for a Vader bomb and nailed it. Got a very close near fall out of it. He tried for a second rope splash, but Strowman moved out of the way this time, and Braun set him up for the pile driver. But not the pile driver. I wish he did. No, the power bomb. Set him up for a power bomb, and this was not the Wardlow powerbomb symphony. When Braun Strowman delivers a powerbomb, he only needs one, and he got the pin, and the crowd loved it. They ate it up. This was fun. This was a fun match. It didn't overstay its welcome. They gave them 5 minutes. They did a bunch of big man spots, and the crowd ate this shit up. Braun, live in the building is over when he's in there doing power spots and power bombing, fucking 350-pound Otis. Surprise, surprise, the people are into it. That's how you get Braun Strowman over. That's how you keep him over. It's smart. So I thought this was fun. I enjoyed this. After the match, the Brawling Brutes were interviewed by Kayla Braxton in the back. And Sheamus said in 2 weeks on the season premiere of SmackDown, it's going to be Sheamus and Gunther, Part 2, for the Intercontinental title. He said he's going to take the championship, and later tonight, his boys are going to win the tag team titles. Because when the Brutes are in the ring, he goes, it's banger after banger after banger after banger. And they cut to commercial. They might still be backstage, saying banger after banger after banger after banger. Sheamus and Walter, they're in the running for match of the year. So they're going to go out there in 2 weeks, and they're going to beat the hell out of each other again. Only this time now we have to sit through commercial breaks. So I don't know, that the commercials really do hurt the matches when you have like a long match and you're really into it. So we didn't have that issue at Clash at the Castle, but we're going to have commercials interrupting the match in 2 weeks. But I am very much looking forward to that match. Next up, we had Drew McIntyre. He was out to the ring next. He was dressed in street clothes, and he had a leather belt wrapped around his fist. So before he even got into the ring, I knew exactly where this was going. I knew exactly what announcement he was about to make, which sure enough was him challenging Karrion Kross to a strap match for Extreme Rules. We heard the music for Karrion Kross and Scarlett. Scarlett made her entrance. Kross tried to attack from behind. McIntyre, though, he saw the swerve coming. He turned around. He started brawling with Kross in the ring. He got the upper hand. He sent Kross shoulder first into the ring post. McIntyre tried to attach the strap to Karrion's hand, which he did. And then he began to whip him hard with the leather belt across the back. He whipped him about 3 times. So now he's down in the corner. Kross is cowering, right? And Drew's about to come in to whip him again. Scarlett crawls into the ring and shields Karrion and stops Drew in his tracks. And she's trying to protect her man, and Drew is, obviously he doesn't want to hit a woman. So that gives her some time to prepare the flash paper. And Scarlett goes to throw a fireball in Drew McIntyre's face, or at least that was the idea. The idea was she would throw a fireball in his face and she would blind him. The fireball did not go into his face so much as it went over his head. And Drew sold it briefly, but again, it didn't look great, but you saw a flash. You could reasonably sell it as, okay, it blinded him, right? This flash of light, even if it didn't hit him in the face, it blinded him. Right now, Kross is going to take him down and get the advantage. But instead of doing that, when Kross came after him, Drew ended up giving him a spine buster. So this woman threw a fireball at this guy's face, and it had no effect on him because they botched the spot. And they could have at least tried to sell it again in such a way where he was blinded, he couldn't see, Kross gets the advantage, he puts him in the cross jacket. Instead, Drew just gave him a spine buster. Why do a fireball spot? For the people who say, no, it was done that way on purpose, then why do the spot, though, if you're not going to sell it? There's no point in doing a fireball spot unless you're going to sell it and the other guy is going to take the advantage. So they botched the fireball spot here. And again, after he took Kross down with the spine buster, Scarlett came up from behind Drew and she gave him a low blow. And that was enough to take Drew down to his knees. He collapsed in agonizing pain. And at that point, Kross locked on the cross jacket while he yelled at Drew. He said, "This is exactly what we wanted, and you fell for it, and I'll see you at Extreme Rules." Scarlett isn't quite the wizard that Chris Jericho is. I think that it would be in their best interest to avoid using flash paper from now on. Didn't seem to work out well for Hulk Hogan, and it didn't work out too well for Scarlett here in this segment. I don't know why Cross would be going on about how you fell into our trap. This is what we wanted. This was our master plan. So your master plan was to allow Drew McIntyre to come out and challenge you to a strap match, and then you would attack him from behind. Meanwhile, he made you look like a fucking idiot, and he was whipping you. But this was all part of the plan. Why wouldn't you just come out and challenge him to a match if that was your plan? If your plan was to get Drew McIntyre in the ring at Extreme Rules, then why not just challenge him to a match at Extreme Rules? It's such a convoluted way of getting to the exact same place. So I thought that was very goofy, the explanation that they had him ranting and raving about here. Oh, this was what we wanted. This was all part of our plan. That's a pretty shitty plan. I hope he has a better plan going into the pay-per-view. But now Karrion Kross is going to have his first main roster, big main roster match at Extreme Rules, right? The first one. He wrestled Jeff Hardy on TV, Keith Lee, but he never had a big pay-per-view match here on the main roster. He's finally going to get one at Extreme Rules, and we'll see how he does. This is going to be a big test for him. Because Drew McIntyre has gone out there on television with Sheamus. He's had a lot of great matches. He's gone out there with Kevin Owens on television and had a great match. He went in there at Clash at the Castle with Roman Reigns, and they had a great match. So we know what Drew McIntyre can do in the ring. If they go to Extreme Rules and they have a match, or they don't have a very good match, Drew McIntyre is not going to be the one getting the blame for that. So this is a big test for Karrion Kross here going into this pay-per-view now. And you're trying to get him over as the number 2 heel on SmackDown. I wouldn't exactly be beating him either. But yet Drew McIntyre is coming off a crushing defeat at Clash at the Castle. You really have 2 men in this match, neither of whom should be losing this match. But I would not beat Karrion Kross in his first big match on TV. I would not at all be doing that. We had Raquel Rodriguez, one-on-one against one half of the women's tag team champions, Dakota Kai. Obviously, these two, if you watch NXT, these two have a history together, former tag team champions in NXT, are Dakota and Raquel. This was no good. This went not even a full 90 seconds. So again, it's one of these matches where why even send them to the ring? Because what's the point? Dakota took control thanks to a distraction by Bayley, because Bayley and Io were out there. The whole Damage Control group were out there. So Kai takes control, and Raquel is just outnumbered here. Here comes Shotzi, because now they've turned Shotzi babyface, which is the right move to make. And Aaliyah is out, but she's not hurt all that seriously. In fact, I think Aaliyah is supposed to be back on TV next week. If she takes more time to heal up, I won't mind. But Shotzi comes out, and she hits a Thez press to Bayley in the aisleway. While all of this is going on, this distracts Dakota Kai, who gets rolled up and pinned. The old distraction roll-up finish on one half of the tag team champions. So they pinned Dakota Kai off of a fucking distraction roll-up here in this match in less than 90 seconds. I have no idea what the point of doing this was. This was incredibly stupid. And this is probably one, I think I just answered the question I was going to ask. I was going to ask, am I the only one? I'm not digging this whole Damage Control thing. This ain't working for me so far. I'm glad that Dakota Kai and Io Sky got the call up, and I think that they should have been called up a long time ago. But this whole Damage Control thing, this ain't working for me. And when you have booking like this, it's no wonder why. Right? They lost in the finals of the tag team title tournament. Now, eventually they rectified that mistake and put the belts on them. But they fucking beat them in the finals of the tournament, which, looking back, what the hell was the point of that? And then they do stuff like this on TV. And now, I wonder why I'm not really digging this whole Damage Control thing. I'm not. So far, this Damage Control stuff to me has been a fail. And they need to do something to try to turn this around. Booking like this is not going to help. To the back, we had Humberto and Angel. They barged back into the party that was being thrown in the back by Hit Row. And they doled out super kicks to Hit Row, and then they ran away. And Top Dollar was furious, and he had to be restrained from going after these men. And I'm sure he'll be getting his revenge some other time. But this was the big payoff. All these backstage segments throughout the night with the champagne glasses, they got a whole party going on. I'm like, all right, what is this building to? It was building to Los Lotharios hitting super kicks and running away. So this sucked. This sucked. All these segments building up to this big moment, this was dumb. But then we got to the main event, which did not suck. It was the Usos defending their undisputed tag team titles against the Brawling Brutes. Pete Dunne, Ridge Holland. Sami Zayn was at ringside, as was Solo Sikoa. Butch started with the joint manipulation spots at the beginning of the match. Ridge tagged in, and the Usos turned the tables. They isolated him in their corner. Butch managed to tag back in. He took a very awkward spill out of the ring at one point. I don't know what they were trying. I don't know what the Usos were trying to do. They were trying to backdrop him, and he didn't take it the right way. I don't even know who's at fault, but Pete Dunne took this nasty bump into the ropes and then kind of fell out of the ring, and, thankfully he was okay. But, yeah, I don't know what the hell that was. So anyway, Butch tried to fight back. Sami almost got involved. It led to an argument between Jey Uso and Sami Zayn outside the ring. Jey basically telling him, stay out of my business. Butch caught Jey with an enziguri, though, on his way back in and made the hot tag to Ridge Holland. Or Ridge. I said Rich. I call him whatever I want. Later in the match, Butch tags in, and he goes for a second rope moonsault, and he moonsaults off the middle rope right into a pair of stereo super kicks from Jey and Jimmy Uso. It's a great spot. They covered him for the pin, but Butch kicked out at the last possible moment. Great near fall there. Usos were setting up for the 1D, but Butch countered into a DDT to Jimmy. Butch got the tag to Holland, and the Brawling Brutes hit, I guess this is their finish, this tag team finish where Butch kicks him and Ridge kind of drops him with this side slam. They went for the pin, but it got broken up at the last second. So outside the ring, Sami Zayn sees that the Usos are in trouble. And he wants to be, he's kind of the useful idiot here of the group. He reaches for a chair. He's going to try to pass this steel chair into the ring. Sheamus sees this, and Sheamus rushes over, and he grabs the chair out of his hand. Here comes Imperium, and they attack Sheamus. Walter comes out, lays out Sheamus. Now Sheamus is down. Imperium leaves. Pete Dunne, Ridge Holland, they see what's going on here. They head out to the floor to try to help out Sheamus. They eat super kicks. Down goes Ridge Holland. They put Butch back in the ring, and finally the Usos hit Butch with the 1D, and they get the pin to retain the tag team titles. The crowd was hot for this. And I'm not saying that they're not still piping in crowd noises on this show. I believe they are. But we've got Nathan. I don't know if he's still in the chat or not. He might be leaving the building. But Nathan in the chat was live at the show. And he was actually talking in the chat while he was there. He made it very clear the crowd was hot for most of the night, but especially the main event. The crowd was hot for this match. It was a really good match. Great stuff from these four. They had those dramatic near falls in there. I'll give them credit because how much drama can there be if most people don't legitimately expect the Usos to lose their titles? It's hard, right? If people go into it saying, there's no chance we're going to get a title change tonight, but then on some of those ultra close near falls, you get the crowd believing for a split second that there might be a title change. That's how you know you've won them over. And they did that a couple of times here in this match, but I don't think anybody in their right mind expected a title change. And you're going to be missing a lot of that drama really for the next several months because I don't think that we are going to get a title change until Sami Zayn is booted from the bloodline, reunites with Kevin Owens, and they win the tag team titles from the Usos at WrestleMania. And not only do they win the tag team titles from the Usos at WrestleMania, but it's Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. And it's Sami delivering the haluva kick and pinning Jey to do it. WrestleMania is still many months away. So they're going to have to feed more tag teams to these guys. The drama won't be there if people aren't expecting them to lose. But if they put out matches like this, get no complaints out of me. This was a really fun match. Now SmackDown next week in Winnipeg. I guess they're up in the Canadian territory all week long. We've got Shotzi one-on-one with Bayley. We've got Hit Row taking on Los Lotharios, and we have Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa taking on Madcap Moss and Ricochet. That does not sound like an appealing lineup at all. So they better have more than that lined up for SmackDown next week. Take a look at the Twitter poll. 74% of you have given this show tonight a thumbs up, 16% thumbs in the middle, and roughly 10% thumbs down. This was definitely a thumbs up show tonight. Very much enjoyed this SmackDown show. I had a lot of fun watching SmackDown tonight. If only they could all be like this. And this was not a perfect show, as I just got done talking about, but yet I did have a lot of fun watching this show. Let's go over to your Super Chats. See what you guys are talking about here. Let's see what you guys are discussing as we are trying to make the climb to 71,000 subscribers here on the channel. I don't have a number in front of me. I don't know where we're at right now, but I assume we're not there yet. But we could break it tonight before the clock hits midnight. We could very well break 71,000 subs. Shin Akuma with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much. We've got Winter's Paw with the $10 super chat. The Sami bloodline story reminds me a bit of the story of Eugene and Evolution. Roman is like Triple H, using a gullible person to do his bidding, and when he eventually turns on Sami, it is going to break hearts. Well, that's exactly the point. You know it's coming. It's how they tell that story. You could tell that story in a way where it really does. I mean, you know, I don't want to say people are going to be in tears crying, but like you can play off people's emotions. People really love Sami Zayn. And this is one of those situations, and I heard what Triple H said. When they made the War Games announcement and they talked, Triple H said, look, we don't do blading, it's barbaric, or whatever he said. Like it would be inappropriate or whatever the word would be for us to go back and be doing stuff like that. I mean, people bleed all the time. You know, you get accidental hard-way blood in WWE. But if ever there was an angle that called for blood, it is the inevitable beatdown of Sami Zayn. And I hope we get some. I hope we get some blood. I don't care if they have to splash fucking ketchup on the guy. You do an angle like that, you should have some blood involved. George Mazur with the 1999 Super Chat says, with Mr. Regal out of the picture in WWE, hey, shout out to Alonzo Cruz, who just became a Sound Off legend. Alonzo Cruz joining us here on our Friday Night SmackDown stream. George says, with Regal out of the picture, who comes out on Raw or SmackDown to yell War Games? I think if it's Hunter with a one-time appearance, that would really put over the gimmick. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think it would put over the gimmick. I think you could have Paul Heyman do it. Maybe it's something the Bloodline wants. And then you have Paul Heyman. Look, Paul Heyman, it was the Dangerous Alliance in the War Games match in 92 against Sting Squadron. I just said it the other night. Greatest War Games match ever was in 1992. Paul Heyman has his own history with War Games. Maybe it's Heyman on the mics. You know, War Games. You could have him do it. Aussie of Steel. If Vince were still running creative, Liv would have just dropped the kendo stick and then cried about being conflicted. Oh, if Vince was still running creative, the Bloodline totally would have turned on Sami Zayn tonight. This angle would be over. Mr. AJ Allday, the Bloodline rules WWE. Thanks, Solomonster, for all that you do. Thank you, AJ. Lakers Pats won. Bobby Fish did all that just to end up in TNA. I saw that. Because Bobby Fish knew. Why do you think he was trying to get Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly to get their releases? Because he knew that unless they came with him, Triple H had no interest in bringing him back. Why the fuck would he bring back Bobby Fish? He knew he could only get a job there if he brought his buddies with him. Without Undisputed Era, Bobby Fish had no job in WWE. So he ended up in Impact. At least he found work. Brumakian Productions, buy or sell New York steak dinner or New York City pizza? Steak dinner all the way. EJ Slamp, does the Sami Zayn Bloodline storyline remind you at all of the Eugene Evolution storyline when they made him an honorary member only to destroy him? Yes, it does. Bernard Frederick, I'm loving Sami Zayn in the Bloodline story. Great segment on top of the show. I'm glad they didn't turn on Sami, at least not yet. King Bling Blah, if you could go back in time, when, where, and why? When, where, and why would I go back in time? My God. I would go, oh boy, when would I go back to? I don't know. I'd go back to the 80s. I just don't know exactly what year. I just miss the 80s. The 80s fucking rock. Everything about the 80s. The movies, the music, the TV, the hair, all, well, maybe not the hair, but the 80s fucking rocked. So I would go back to maybe 1987, maybe. Now the question is, am I going back in time knowing then what I know now? Or are we just hitting the reset button and going back in time? Dr. Dakota Scorpio, seeing Jey Uso getting swerved was hilarious. Jey is great. I know it sounds weird to say, but honestly, the best thing that ever happened to Jey Uso was his brother hurting his knee and going away. And I thought for sure that meant that Jey Uso was going to be just sitting in catering for the next 9 months. And instead, they started that whole storyline with him and Roman when Roman came back. And we got to see him actually act and show personality and show what, you know, kind of range he had on TV. It's the best thing that ever happened to him was getting that singles push, because I didn't know he had it in him. And he has developed a personality that he never had before. It's been fun to watch. Dethronic78. Well, we didn't get Bray, but we got his twin on AEW in Action Bronson. Well, you must have been tuned into the stream last night when I made that comment. I told you all. What did I tell you all on the stream last night? I said, when you go and you watch Rampage, I want you, when they show Action Bronson at the end of the match and they zoom in on his face, I want you to put a little Bray Wyatt hat on his head, maybe even a Hawaiian shirt, and you will have a dead ringer for Bray Wyatt. I said this 24 hours ago. Not even, a little over 24 hours ago on this stream, I made that comment. Now you see what I'm talking about. You put the little hat on his head, and you have a Bray Wyatt doppelganger there. King Bling Blah cameos we might get in the build for Roman versus Rock. We'll probably see Afa and Sika if they can move around. You got to see some of that Samoan tribe. Unfortunately, they're not all around. Yokozuna's not around. Umaga's not around. I would think we'll probably get some Afa and Sika in there, though. Black Wolf. I was at Arthur Ashe Stadium on Wednesday, my first AEW event, and I had a phenomenal time. Hopefully our caves, I think he means pads, cross when WWE is in Philly and in Brooklyn. Well, I am not planning on going to those shows, but if you are going, have a good time. Rodimus Prime, buy or sell, who do you think would have had the world champion? Who would have had the world champion if given the chance, Scott Hall or Magnum TA? Had he not had his car wreck? Oh, Magnum TA would have been the NWA champion for sure, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Buying on Magnum TA, absolutely. Derek Bailey with the $4.99. Thank you, brother, for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thomas, I agree with you about Sami and the Bloodline. I really was not sure which way this was going to go. I even thought Sami might say, F you. LOL, I want more. Rizzo, I'm excited for Bray's return. Also, I'm liking the way the WWE is giving out these clues. Very smart. It's a very smart way to keep people engaged with all the television shows, because they just don't know when there's going to be a new code or a new clue and who might pop up and when. So it's smart. Very smart. Nathan T was there in the arena tonight. The crowd was loud and into every segment and match. If you've never been to a TV taping, I highly recommend it. I have said that many times over the years, even when WWE was at its worst and Monday Night Raw absolutely just sucked every single week, that if you've never been to a TV event before, you got to go at least once. I don't know how it would be now, with the 3-hour Raws and all the commercial breaks and everything. I guess now they would just play Jefferson Airplane for you during the commercial break. But if you've never been to a TV taping before, you got to go at least once. Everybody should have the experience of going, whether it's Dynamite, Raw, SmackDown, whatever it is. If you've never done it before, then you're almost guaranteed to have a good time. I smoke a lot of weed with the $4.99 super chat. Meet me halfway, right at the borderline. That's where I'm gonna wait for you. I'll be looking out night and day. I know what he's doing tonight. Hey, Veggie in the chat, thank you very much. Crazy, $10 super chat. That first segment had me laughing in tears with Jay instigating and then looking like a defeated man after Sami gets a new shirt. I was convinced that we were going to see KO and Sami against the Usos in Survivor Series. No. Can't do that. First of all, we're getting the Panda Express on Raw Monday night. You can't get to Sami and KO yet. We got KO and Johnny Gargano on TV this Monday. This is something they should take their time with this. There's no need to rush this. You got War Games coming up in November. It would be criminal to blow this off before Survivor Series. And they may not even do it at Survivor Series. They may stretch this out to the Rumble, but you got to at least get to War Games before you do some kind of big twist or turn with Sami and the Bloodline, or a reunion with KO, because you got to get to WrestleMania. The Usos should not lose those titles until WrestleMania, and the only team they should lose those titles to is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Period. End of story. Dr. Dakota Scorpio did not even know Raw was coming to Edmonton this Monday until now. Probably was not going to go either way since I am an introvert. So you're an Edmonton fellow, huh? I did not know that. Javier Martinez with the $4.99. They put White Rabbit flyers on cars outside the arena, and the Seth Riddle Extreme Rules poster has fireflies and a lantern on the left side. It does look like they are building to something at Extreme Rules. That's why I wasn't expecting there to be a reveal tonight. I expected a clue. I was not expecting an actual reveal tonight. Bearwolf, it's funny you mentioned that you and I are in the same boat. The orange chicken at Panda Express is fucking great. If you got a Panda Express in your area, you gotta get the orange chicken. Their lo mein is pretty good too, although they have a different name for it. I think they call it chow mein, but that's not what chow mein is, but it looks like lo mein. Chris Marte, I think if the NWO came to WWE as their WWE gimmicks, then months later they lose a couple of pay-per-views in a row, and then they form the wait, I have no idea. I thought you misspelled NEO, so I said NWO, but then at the end of the super chat they formed the NWO. So what is NEO? What am I missing here? I think if the NEO came into WWE as their WWE gimmicks, then months later they lose a couple of pay-per-views in a row, and then they form the NWO. I don't know what that's a reference to. Javier says, look at Drew and Cross's poster on the left corner. Well, I don't have it in front of me right now, so I can't look at it. Dev to Dust, Jaws or Halloween? 1978, Halloween. Rob G, remember Rock and Triple H were a team in the corporation? Yes. Yes, they were. It was brief, but they were in the same faction for a brief period of time. EJ Slemp, Albert Pujols hit his 699th home run tonight. He is a class act and one of my favorite players of all time. Are you a fan, and will you miss him? I don't have anything against the Pujols. I can't say I'm a fan of his. I don't have any real attachment to him. He doesn't play for any of my teams. He didn't play for the Mets. He didn't play for the, well, I guess the Mets would be my only team. I don't really, I'm not a hockey guy. I'm not really an NBA guy. I'm not too much of an NFL guy. The Mets are my team. He don't play for the Mets, so I don't really care too much, but you know, it'll be sad when he is finally gone. Oh, he hit 700? I'm hearing he hit 700. So he had 2 home runs in one night? Is that the case? Because people in the chat are saying he hit 700. Tokes Kazim. I am tired of the bloodline. It is annoying. Well, that's the point. You're supposed to hate them. They're the dominant heel faction on the show. No, I know. The bloodline stuff has been going on for a long time now, but I can't hate on the bloodline because they're finding ways to, for me anyway, they're finding ways to keep it interesting. I was getting very tired even just a few months ago. I mean, you heard me on the podcast. I was starting to say, oh, Roman Reigns, the reigns of terror, right? It was starting to remind me of that. The reason I used to dump on the whole Triple H reign of terror thing back in 02 and 03, not that I was doing the podcast back then, but when I would talk about that period of time, it was because the show was so boring. I just didn't find any of it interesting. You know, what he was doing and how dominant he was. Now they have found ways to keep the bloodline fresh and interesting by adding new blood to it. No pun intended. So I don't feel the same way. I don't feel the same way I did a few months ago. I think they've done a good job of freshening things up a little bit. And we'll see where that story goes. Alonzo, thank you for the $1.99. I appreciate that. Rizzo. I might get called a bully for this, but I hope Kevin Dunn finds some crying kids in the crowd when the inevitable destruction of Sami happens. You have to. You have to. It's the automatic go-to in wrestling. When some big turn happens or there's a big betrayal or something. I remember when Savage, the whole snake bite thing, you find at least that one kid in the crowd who is just bawling his eyes out. And you get him or her on camera. I mean, it is a must. You must. That's how you put the segment over. When you make the kids cry, you've got to get that on camera. Alonzo says, been a fan since TV Tracks days. I have finally subscribed. Well, thank you, Alonzo. I am happy to have you here with us here tonight. You might be number 71,000. I don't know where we are on that. You may have been subscriber number 71K. TMT676, off topic, but do you think Triple H will induct China as a solo inductee? I do not. Drew McIncock, Scissor Me, Daddy Solo. I've been doing enough scissoring for the week. People at Arthur Ashe the other night, all they were doing was talking about scissoring me. Scissor me, scissor me. We got EJ. Update from my earlier super chat. Albert Pujols has just hit 700. So there you go. I guess that's 2 in one night, I assume. Or did he do 699 the other night? Bernard Frederick, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Booker T all have similar career paths, being in tag teams and world champs, plus being two-time Hall of Famers. What 3 wrestlers of today do you think will have the same success? It's impossible to say. There's so many different options. I mean, I look at NXT, I see people like Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker, and I look at AEW, and there's any number of people who are, can be world champions and, Hall of Famers one day if there is another Hall of Fame somewhere else, an MJF or a... you got the pillars in AEW. Everybody talks about the pillars, and MJF is at the top of that list. But you've got a guy like a Jungle Boy who could eventually grow into, a main event type, and he's still young. A lot of these guys are still very young. So I look at somebody like him or Darby, and it's impossible to say who's going to end up there or not, because Who's to say? Who's to say if their career doesn't get derailed because, of something stupid they do or because of an injury? But they all have the potential to be a multiple-time world champion. I can't, nobody can sit here and predict exactly who is going to end up in that spot. Montez Ford, Montez Ford should be a future world champion. Will he be a Hall of Famer one day? I don't know. He has all the tools for it. He's proven he could be a babyface. I think he could be an even better heel. Joshua Edwards considering attending any WWE shows soon. I've got none on my radar. So right now, no. George, when do Hit Rock's music? Probably, let's see. Well, so we're assuming Rock is actually coming in, right? Which is still a big if. I don't know, probably on an episode of SmackDown or something. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't want to sit here and fantasy book because there's any number of ways you could introduce Rock on TV to start a program with Roman. You could have Roman just start popping off about how I've beaten everybody there is to beat. I'm the best of all time. I've proven it. There's nobody left. And then boom, if you smell, and out comes The Rock. Or he could start, calling himself, I'm the greatest of, one of my favorite super chats. Down goes Disco. That's the day Disco died. He could start talking about himself as the greatest Samoan to ever do it. Or he could flat out throw a challenge out to The Rock. He could say, you know what? I'm tired of hearing this guy's name thrown around. There's one name no matter where I go, no matter what interview I do, who I talk to, they keep bringing this name up, and I'm sick and tired of it. I've beaten everybody there is to beat. I'm calling him out right here and now. I'm calling out The Rock. And you tease it for a couple of weeks, and then finally The Rock shows up. You do it that way too. Roman calls him out. He calls his shot. Otherwise, it kind of wouldn't make sense for Rock to just randomly show up one day, right? We never see The Rock. He would need a real good reason to show up at random one day, unless somebody calls him out by name. I'm pulling your Punk card. I'm calling you out. There's only one tribal chief in this family. There you go. That's the spark that lights the fire. Casey is raw. Hey, you guys, all of our channel members are going nuts with the member emotes in the chat. Fire Panda has discovered all the emotes that our channel members have. Casey is raw. You go up here. WWE product make me cry for years. Yeah, you and me both. It's nice though if they make you cry for a different reason, right? Instead of the usual. I smoke a lot of weed. DX against the McMahons in Big Show Hell in a Cell, or John Cena versus Edge in a TLC match at Unforgiven 2006. The only thing I remember from that DX and McMahon's match was Vince McMahon getting his face shoved into Big Show's ass crack. And I don't find that appealing in any way. I don't find that really funny. So, and frankly, I don't remember the match being very good anyway. So John Cena, how is that even a question? I think John Cena and Edge in a TLC match is the easy winner there. Hey, Type 99 just subscribed to the channel. We've got Joshua Edwards says also, Rammstein. Since when? Since college. I've been a big fan of Rammstein since college, man. You didn't know that? I was surprised how many people were shocked by that when I mentioned them. I tweeted about them the other day. They're fucking awesome. Their music, it's funny, when I'll be at the gym sometimes and one of their songs is on my playlist, let's say. I've got more than one song of theirs on my playlist, but one of them will randomly come on and I'm like tracking my heart rate, and all of a sudden my heart rate like jacks up. Like it's like the perfect workout song, right? I just always liked their music. It just sounded epic to me. We've got Aussie of Steel. Hey, Ashley. Ashley Zarzar just became a Sound Off superstar. Aussie of Steel. I still want Bray to come back as a new gimmick. Both the cult leader and Fiend are dead. Bray, I think, is somebody who would probably want to reinvent himself. So I think there's a pretty decent chance that when he does come back, it will be some kind of, slightly different or completely different gimmick. I don't see him coming back and just rehashing the same exact thing he did before. I would think he's been gone now for a long time. He's probably got all these ideas going through his head. He's a very creative guy. I'm sure he'll want to reinvent himself in some way. I don't want to just see the Fiend come back. It's just, I think time for something different. I think it's time for something fresh, something new, something borrowed, something blue. Maybe Bray's gonna get married on the show. Maybe he'll bring JoJo with him. Rizzo, do I think Triple H will change the Survivor Series name to War Games like the NXT TakeOver, or will he keep the Survivor Series name? He's absolutely keeping the Survivor Series name. There's already a new logo. It's Survivor Series War Games. So Survivor Series is not going anywhere. Hey, Darren, James Ashton Doughboy 97. What a name. He just subscribed to the channel. Darren James Ashton Doughboy 97. And I do believe that Fire Panda is correct. We have officially, I believe, that we have officially broken 71,000 subs here on the channel. We did it again. We broke 70,000 live on the air, and we did it again here tonight. We broke 71,000 live on the air, so thank you all. I salute you with my Sound Off mug. Thank you for 71K. You guys are awesome. It wasn't that long ago that we hit 70. So now we're at 71. Now we go onward to 72. There's always a new goal that we need to set, right? We hit 71, now we aim for 72. We have got Rizzo with the $10 super chat. Do you think that they could do Roman and Rock what Cena did with the Undertaker? Have Roman call out Rock week after week, and Rock finally shows that, well, yeah, that's what I just talked about. Great minds. That's what I just talked about. That really, if you think about it, that really is what would make the most sense. Dethronic78, Roman should give Solo a belt. Have him represent Raw. He should just hand him the championship. What do you think he is, Triple H? Solo had a belt, and they took it away from him, which was very stupid. Why put it on him in the first place? Joshua Edwards, you ever heard of the band Architects? I have now. But before you mentioned it, I had not heard of them, no. And Dr. Dakota Scorpio, congrats on 71,000 subscribers. Thank you. Very happy to see that we hit 71K tonight. Very happy about that. We've got Rizzo with a $5 super chat coming on in here any second. I apologize for the off-topic question, but a few weeks ago you promoted a protein bar, and I cannot remember the name. Does anyone know it? I think you're thinking of Monk Pack. I believe you may be thinking of Monk Pack. We actually have a link for Monk Pack. So, if you go to monkpack.com, use the code Solomonster. You get 20% off. So, I'm pretty sure you are thinking of Monk Pack. MUNKpack.com. Use the code Solomonster. It helps the show, and you get a little money off. So, I believe that we are caught up on your super chats. And I don't know, guys. I said the goal tonight for Be the Booker was 500 likes. We are at 495 likes. It looks like we fell short. It looks like we didn't make the cut. Gonna have to be a little more aggressive than that. I don't know, man. Falling short. Very disappointing. Oh, wait. We got another super chat. Ice Smoka. Ice Smoka. I smoke a lot of weed. $4.99. Solo Sikoa versus Tony D'Angelo. When can we see another Don, Tony, and Solomonster show? Only watch you two guys. Wish the best for both of you. Well, shout out to DT. I know he just got hitched. He just got married, so congrats to him. And, of course, nothing but happiness for the both of them and their future together. We did a show earlier this year. It was received very well. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure at some point in the future we'll do something. I have been ridiculously slammed to the point where I don't know what this show, honestly, on Sunday is going to look like. I'm not even done preparing for House of Glory tomorrow night. So I have just been, when the other job kind of bubbles up, it really just kills my whole fucking week. And so I've been slammed this whole week, this whole month really, but this week has been really bad. So this is not the time to be adding more work to my plate. But again, I'm sure at some point we'll chat again. But yeah, if you missed it, we did the Mega Powers coming together. We did a show earlier this year. I want to say it was back in March on his channel, not this channel. Rizzo says, I'll do that, Solo. Yes, I'm telling you, you will enjoy them. I've got one Monk Pack bar left in this house. Okay, and I had a whole box. And there must have been, I don't know how many, maybe a dozen of them were in there. So when I say that I legitimately have them, like, I have them every week. Like, I love these things. And I used to eat these Chewy bars. I think they were called Chewy bars. I don't know if that was the brand name. So when I wanted a granola bar, I would have these. They were called Chewy bars. These are much better. These are much better. And they have a lot of different flavors and varieties and stuff. And those are the ones I love to promote, like the stuff that I actually like to eat. Because for a lot of these, you have to eat them on camera and actually show people, that you're eating them and stuff. And the last thing I want to do is be sitting here and eating something that tastes like shit. And put on a brave face and say, "Oh, this tastes really good," and then like spit it out. No, I got one Monk Pack bar left. I actually gotta refill soon. Dr. Dakota Scorpio, the geese sends another L. The power of the chat. You had to bring up the geese, huh? Cameron Spencer, did Roman show up to work tonight? He did. Roman came to work tonight. He did. I know it doesn't happen all the time, but he did show up to work tonight. Well, let's see. Did you guys end up breaking? You did. Oh, look at that. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. See, sometimes you just need a little swift kick in the ass. So we went from 495 to 551 and counting. Over 550 likes. So, you know what that means. It's time to be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
It is time on a Friday night here as we approach midnight. And the Mets are out in Oakland tonight, so their game started less than 2 hours ago. So I might be able to actually catch the end of the Mets game tonight. Let's do Be the Booker. And we'll open things up here with the men. This is where, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is a fun randomizer. We do this for the men, the women, and tag teams. I created this. I put these together. I can always add more people to it. I could take people out. I brought you into this world. I could take you out. But it's just me randomly trying to book some matches I'd like to see. See how much of a good job I do here. We begin with Kurt Angle. Always a fine way to begin the Be the Booker segment. This is not Perk Angle. This is Kurt. This is the original Kurt Angle here. This is early Kurt Angle from WWE in like 99, 2000. This is Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle, one-on-one. It's going to be an automatic ding. I mean, you put Kurt Angle in the ring with almost anybody, right? It's going to be a winner. Kurt Angle one-on-one with Andrade El Idolo. La Sombra and Kurt Angle. What a match that would have been, huh? La Sombra and Kurt Angle. You think La Sombra is one of those guys who supposedly asked for his release from AEW? I think so. I think so. I wouldn't be shocked if him and Miro both asked for their release. Let's flip over to the women's side. It would be virtually impossible for me to book a worse women's match than the 82nd match they gave us on SmackDown tonight with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez with their shitty distraction roll-up finish. Right? It would be impossible for me to do worse. We begin with someone who was involved in that match tonight. Io Sky, the former NXT Women's Champion, reigning one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. This is Io Shirai. This is the Io Shirai version. Io Shirai one-on-one with Ty Mello. Oh my God, what do I do with my finger? Where should I put my finger? What should I do here? I don't know. It's like that meme with that guy who's sweating bullets. I don't know whether to push the red button or the blue button. I don't know. Ty and I'm gonna go by this. Ruby Soho has a broken nose in 2 places and a fucked up septum because of her and Sammy Guevara. So I had to hit the buzzer on that one. Poor Ruby. Sounds like she's going to be out for a while, too. She hasn't had the surgery yet, but broke her nose in 2 places. I'll tell you what, she's lucky she didn't break her fucking neck in that match that she got hurt in. It was her and Ortiz against Sammy and Ty. She took a beating in that match. Tag teams, we begin with Best Friends, Trent and Chuck. Best Friends one-on-one, or 2-on-2, I guess you would say, with the Hart Foundation. I was gonna hit the buzzer. I'm not gonna lie. I was going to hit the buzzer. But then I saw the Hart Foundation. I said, well, Hart Foundation and Best Friends, that's not too bad. But wait, hold on a second. I'm getting an alert here. I'm getting a message handed to me here on a piece of paper. Apparently, the general manager has announced that this is now going to be a triple threat match. Holy shit. We've got another team coming into the fray. We've got the Hart Foundation. We've got Best Friends. And we've got the Powers of Pain. I don't know. That felt like a buzzer to me. I always love it when you get the run-ins here on Be the Booker. It's like when you're playing 2K22 and all of a sudden somebody runs into your match to interfere. You never know when it might happen. You never know what's going to happen in Be the Booker. We went from a bell to a buzzer in the span of 10 seconds. But that's how it works sometimes. I Smoke a Lot of Weed says, sorry for spamming, but I rather would send you $20 than drop 80 on Coke. Wow. You've been there for me, and I'm trying to stay clean. Wow. Well, I don't want to make fun of that, but wow. Well, thank you. I Smoke a Lot of Weed. That's very kind of you. I too would rather you spend that money on the show than on Coke. So, thank you for the support. I don't know. I was not expecting that. But I appreciate the honesty, though. You're a lot better off being part of the show here and donating to the show than you are doing that. So This is not WWF in 1987 here. I want you to be clean and lucid when you're here with us. Be part of the conversation. Rizzo with the $10 super chat just ordered Monk Pack, and I will send you the screenshot. Also, LOL at the rumor that Fish was trying to get Cole and Kyle to quit AEW. There's no way Tony Khan would let either out of their contract anyway. No, of course not. Of course not. I can believe that too. I believe that probably did happen. Even if he denies it, I would bet that probably is exactly what happened. And he's out of his fuck. Why would Cole and O'Reilly leave anyway? I mean, of all the people that you could say, okay, this person would have a reason to be upset with how they've been booked and used in AEW, and I could see them wanting to, get out. I would not say that about Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. They have no reason to leave. Bobby Fish has every reason in the world to want them to leave because he knows he doesn't have a fucking job in WWE without them. That's why he's an Impact now. But no, I could totally believe that. Doesn't surprise me at all. Go vote in the poll at Solomonster. SmackDown is clocking in with 74% thumbs up. This was a very fun show tonight. I enjoyed SmackDown. And Raw will be in Edmonton on Monday. We'll see if this whole White Rabbit stuff is going to build to something other than just another clue. But I would assume whatever it's building to, they're probably saving it for Extreme Rules. That would be my prediction. So we'll see. It's always fun to follow along. Reminds me of the viral marketing campaign for the first Cloverfield movie. Back in 2008, I was obsessed with that. I was addicted to that campaign. I talked about it on the podcast, in fact. 2008, when that movie came out, that was January. Well, I mean, the poster's on the wall behind me right there. So the date is on there. I think it was January 18, 2008. And I remember talking about it and reviewing it on the podcast, the whole experience and everything. And if you are a channel member, I think it's on the Legends tier level. I know I've fallen behind on the audio retro uploads, but I know for a fact that show is up. That is one of the shows that is up in the archives if you are a Legends tier member. I was obsessed with that. And the thing is, when the movie came out, I was bummed because I realized all the viral marketing and all the clues and all the Easter eggs had nothing to do with the movie itself. But they just sucked you into it. It was very effective in that way. And now I saw the story earlier on Deadline.com that, and it's official, this is not just a rumor, Paramount is, they've got people working on a Cloverfield sequel. Now, there have been 2 other Cloverfield movies. One of them really wasn't a Cloverfield movie. They just sort of attached the Cloverfield name to it, and they threw the monster in at the very end. It was a really cheap stunt. It was like a Netflix movie, and they knew it was going to bomb, so all of a sudden it became a Cloverfield movie, which is bullshit. This is apparently going to be a legit Cloverfield, either a prequel, a sequel, I don't know what it's going to be. J.J. Abrams is not directing, but he's producing, and they're working on it. They're very tight-lipped about it. We don't have any details, but I will be there on day one. Cloverfield is one of my favorite movies. Look at this. Super Pony says Cloverfield was a dreadful film. Get out of this chat. Super Pony, what's wrong with you? I loved Cloverfield. I'm a sucker for a good monster movie. It was in New York. I remember I was watching the movie going, oh, I know that place. I was there last week. I went to that bar. I went to that club. Maybe that was part of it. Love Clo. That's why I got the poster up there. Is it on Netflix? I don't know if it's on Netflix. That's a very good question. Is the original Cloverfield on Netflix? I will say this. The second Cloverfield movie, it was very similar to the third one that I just described, where it really wasn't a sequel to Cloverfield. It was almost Cloverfield in name. But it was a really good movie. Like, just as a standalone movie, I guess it really didn't have anything to do with Cloverfield. That's what I mean. There hasn't been a proper sequel. But that had John Goodman in it. And as a thriller, Really good movie. It's called 10 Cloverfield Lane. And really good stuff. You know what? It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I should go back and rewatch that one of these days. I don't know if either of them are on Netflix, though. I'm sure it is in some country, because on Netflix, in some countries, it'll have certain movies, and in other countries, it won't. You know, Goodfellas was on Netflix here in the U.S. until the end of August, and then it left Netflix. But I think it's still on Netflix in like Germany. It's weird. I don't know why they do that, but in any event, Preston Ridiculous with the $10 super chat says 10 Cloverfield Lane is my favorite. Well, there you go.
Dead man walking.
John Goodman was awesome in that movie. He was awesome in that movie. You know what I remember when I watched that movie? I remember thinking, I don't want to spoil anything, but I really thought it was a great movie until the final like 10 or 15 minutes. You would think that's the part of the movie I liked the most, and it just felt so it just felt so tacked on and like out of nowhere that it didn't ruin the film, but it almost ruined the film for me. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, I am looking forward to Halloween Ends. Bernard Frederick says the stories on WWE are getting better. Thank you, Triple H. I smoke a lot of weed. Depression means that you think too much of the past. Anxiety means you think too much in the future. This is me telling everyone to live in the moment. That is a very good piece of advice, I think, that people could take to heart. Very well said. You said it better than I ever could. District 9. Wow, yeah, District 9. I saw District 9 when it came out. I remember liking it. I remember it was a very depressing movie. But yeah, I saw it the one time when it came out. I haven't seen it since. I remember liking it though. I thought they were doing a sequel. I thought they were doing a District 10. I guess that was just a rumor, I guess. Fire Panda, the sound off belt is in the other room. I don't have it here right now. So I'd have to like go get it, which I really don't want to do right now. Thomas Copperfield is awesome. I hope this next one Copperfield is awesome. I hope this next one is good. The new one is a direct sequel. Well, yes, Cloverfield is what he meant. I thought you were talking about a David Copperfield documentary or something. Copperfield. Yes, I will have the sound off belt back one of these days. I will show it off. You know what it looks like. I've showed it to you before. Joshua just watched The Mist recently because I had suggested it, and says it was just depressing. The ending is depressing. That's honestly one of the most depressing endings to a movie that I've ever seen. It was really good. I mean, credit to them for having the balls to actually go there and do that. But my God, what a fucking depressing ending that was. It says Cloverfield. Stupid spell checker. I don't know. Maybe Copperfield is the name of the sequel. Maybe you're onto something. I don't know if you're on to something or you're on something, but I know what you meant. Darth Panic, did you pick any merchandise from the AEW show? No. No, I did not. I already have a couple of AEW shirts here at home. I just was trying to get into the building so I didn't miss, the entire opening match. I said last night, I sat down, I already missed the first 10 minutes of the show. Ice Mocha says, last one. Hey, Solomonster, can you please give me Prison Break, a few watch, and give a review? Would love your thoughts on that show and other shows as extras. Yeah, Prison Break is not a show I ever got into. I never watched it. Maybe one of these days, like Prison Break, Lost. Yeah, I never saw any of those shows. Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know what that is. I've never heard of that before. Well, Bash, are you talking about Cloverfield or District 9? About the sequel. Jorge, yes, we did that a few minutes ago. Be the Booker is done. Cherry Wave says Dexter is a good one. I heard that Dexter just completely shit the bed in the last season or two. Like everybody raved about Dexter, and then it got to the end, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, they fucked the whole show up." Conjuring, Ginger Snap, Supernatural. Well, you guys are full of suggestions here. Pacific Rim. I haven't seen any of these. Have I seen The Batman yet? No, I have not. I barely tolerated 4.5 hours of AEW the other night. I'm not ready for 3.5 hours of The Batman. American Horror Story. Yeah, that was a good one. I saw the first season of American. I think was it the first season? I don't remember now. I don't remember which season it was. I think I saw one of those seasons. Actually, you know what? And then we'll get out of here. There was a show, and I know I recommended it at the time I watched it. Now I forgot the fucking name. Oh my god, it was a great Zero. Oh god, what the hell was it? I think it was on Sci-Fi Network. Channel Zero. Fuck, what was the name of that show? It's a great show. If I think of it, I'll suggest it to you again. Rizzo says, last one. Do you think Dexter Lumis is involved with the Bray return? I don't. I think people have gotten very creative on social media. They think that Dexter is one of the Firefly Funhouse characters, and Braun is the what was the character? Huskus the pig, and I think that they are putting more thought into this than WWE has. I don't think that's where this is headed. Yes, Cherry Wave. Yes. That's what I'm thinking of. Channel Zero. There it is. Candle Cove. Thank you. Well, Candle Cove was just one season. So there were 4 seasons, I believe, of Channel Zero. They each had a different title. Candle Cove, I think, was one season. I enjoyed all 4 seasons of that show. Really, really good. Really good. Channel Zero, man. Fuck, that was some good quality shit right there. Oh, we could talk about this all day. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for hanging out with me on a Friday night. Thank you for getting me to 71,000 subscribers here live on the air tonight. Again, we went 3 hours last night talking Dynamite and Rampage spoilers, and if you missed it, I don't even remember what prompted it. I think somebody in the chat mentioned the Van Wyck, which is a horrible stretch of road here in New York, the Van Wyck Expressway. Whatever you do, don't find yourself on the Van Wyck. And it just set me off, and there was an all-time rant on the show last night about the Van Wyck and about the birds who shit on my car, and it was an all-time segment here on these streams. So definitely, if you missed the stream last night, that is not one that you are going to want to miss out on. Definitely go back and check out what you missed. At least everybody could have a nice laugh at my expense. But yeah, that was building up inside me all week. I just had to let it out. So that was a very interesting stream last night. Be well, stay safe. I will be with you on Sunday for episode 775. I'm going to be with you tomorrow night on Fight TV because House of Glory is presenting its Genesis show, and I will be on commentary along with JD from New York. We got some big matches on the card. Penta, L0M, one-on-one with Low Key. Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are challenging the Briscoes for the House of Glory Tag Team Championship. We have a ladder match, our first ever ladder match in House of Glory history. So there's a lot of good stuff coming up. That'll be tomorrow night, live on Fight. That's over at the NYC Arena in Queens. Podcast on Sunday, live Raw review back with you on Monday night. My God, it never ends. It never ends. But no, I have a blast. I always have fun with you guys. All right, I'm out of here. I smoke a lot of weed. Thank you for the final $1.99. Thank you for all of your support. Take care, guys. I'll see you guys on Monday night for the Raw review.